What's up, everybody? Welcome to my November horror movie collection update. Got a nice little stack here. I'm going to be bringing you guys a strictly 30s, 40s, and 50s horror edition today. So sorry if that's not what you're into, but that's what we've got here. Lots of 30s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s flicks. Good stuff. Soundtrack for today is War Lago, black metal band that my band Green Terror played with recently. Found their demo, available to play, so thought it fitting to give them a shout out. You guys should definitely go check them out. Their info will be below in the description, like always. But you guys know how we like to get this started. Cheers, everybody. No beer today, just a little whiskey. Good stuff. Cheers. I hope you guys had a good holiday. Let's get right into it. Alright, first one we have here, 1935, we have a Bela Lugosi Alpha Video DVD of Murder by Television. This isn't like super horror, it's more of a mystery whodunit and kind of like, for the time, a sci-fi flick. But it's a pretty cool Bela role. He plays like a dual role, even though it's kind of a weird one. But yeah, I mean, anytime I see a Bela Lugosi flick, I have to pick it up, and I love me these Alpha Video DVDs. They don't have a lot of extras, if any, usually, but the covers are usually really cool. I picked this one up at Cash for Chaos in Las Vegas, a little record store, kind of a punk record store in Las Vegas while I was on tour recently, so yeah, cool to pick that up. I enjoyed that. 1935 as well, we have Condemned to Live. This is more of an offbeat vampire flick. It's not super horror as well. It is, for the time, it's definitely a horror film, but it's kind of more of a sad, tragic sort of tale, more akin to like Frankenstein, I would say. Maybe even a little more, artsy-fartsy, beautiful. But I liked it. It's a solid vampire flick. A lot of off-screen stuff going on here, and the print is dated, so the dialogue can fall out here and the score can fall out here, and the picture's obviously what it is. But I like this. I think 30s horror is really underrated. A lot of the times it can be drier because of the period that it comes from, but I don't know, I really enjoyed this one. Solid vampire flick. Next up we have Dead Men Walk. This is also like a vampire flick per se. Not really a traditional one. I guess it does have those scenes in it, like guy, biting a beautiful woman while she's asleep in bed. But it's a little more than that. It's a good George Zucco flick. This one comes from the 40s, I believe. Yeah, 1943. Yet another Alpha Video DVD. Love these colorful covers. I've had this one a long time. I'm not going to talk about it too much. It's in so many other packs that I have. Alright. This is the 1940s version of 1 Million Years B.C. 1940, I believe, actually. Maybe 41. I'm not really sure. All I know is that it's definitely a 40s flick. This is like a fantasy, caveman flick with like crazy monsters and stuff that are actually just like lizards with little extra pieces glued to them. I doubt that there's any even like remotely resemblant Harryhausen looking animation effects. I don't particularly remember any after watching this. I did like it, but I think that it's kind of underwhelming when it's stacked against the 1966 film of the same name. Like, this one's just not quite as good, but it's fun. Alright, moving into the 50s here. Both of these are the same. My buddy, my guitarist, Brett in Braineater, he got me this edition of A Bucket of Blood. I don't know where he got it, but, he was a real nice guy and picked it up for me. And then right after, I actually picked up this MGM for like probably $1 at a pawn shop or something. So I've always had this in a double feature with 2000 Maniacs, but I've never had it in its own edition, and I found two of them recently for very cheap, so here they are. I like it. It's a really dry 50s flick, but it's short and sweet and to the punch, I think. Like, there's not much really that happens on screen, but it's a fun flick. It's definitely, spawning straight from beatnik culture, so I dig it. Alright, we got a 30s gangster movie here. We have the original Scarface. Not much to say about this, man. It's your typical noir-esque, crime film. Being that it's from the 30s, it wasn't so regulated, so what you're going to see here is actually pretty brutal in a lot of instances. There's definitely some graphic death and violence here, so tread lightly if that's not really your thing, but yeah, this is a pretty damn good flick. I don't know if I really would say I would enjoy this one a lot more than the remake of Scarface from the 80s, but this is definitely worth checking out. Much more traditional. Alright. This one is from the 40s. It's another noir crime film, though. A little more horror, supernatural oriented, though. This is the Sinister Cinema release of this. This is like a tiny, small, old boutique label that was putting these out. This is a very, I wouldn't say cheap in a disrespectful way, but it's kind of just like a DIY DVD release. They've got artwork on the disc, but to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure the menus look like, camcorder DVD menus. So, obviously a DIY release. This is really, really cool, though. This is one of the more supernatural noir flicks I've seen in my time, and it's pretty damn good. It's a good whodunit, and all the way up until the end, you're kind of just spinning. The plot is well written. I think the acting is pretty damn good, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty unique, spin on the noir style. I dig it a lot. You should definitely check out Fear in the Night from 1947. Don't know if I even said it the entire time until then. Alright, guys, we have one Blu-ray 4K pack, I believe. Yeah, is this 4K? That's a Blu-ray, and yeah, that's a 4K. I don't have a 4K player yet, but I'm going to get one eventually. But I did get this because it's the Blu-ray release that I'm after, and it's just such a sick steelbook of Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. This one is from, I believe it's from the 50s. I believe so. 1954 it says here. This is a James Stewart flick, so it's got his twist on it, but it is through and through a pretty damn good Hitchcock flick. I think it's a little more maybe, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's just a slight step down from the typical Hitchcock fare, but I think it's plenty enjoyable still. It's a little more charming, I would say, than your typical Hitchcock flick. So yeah, I don't. It's just maybe just not necessarily the most horror or whodunit oriented. Even though it is a whodunit, I don't know. It goes for so many more elements than like mystery and horror that Hitchcock is known for. So definitely worth checking out, though. I'm a big James Stewart fan. My wife is as well. So all right, we're gonna keep it up with the Hitchcock here. We have Dial M for Murder. This one is from 1955, and this is Ray Milland, starring feature. This one is definitely less of a whodunit and more of a how did they do it sort of flick. It's like the plot revolves around what you don't know and what you didn't see, which I suppose most of his films, this one just plays more of a. There's no surprise as to who killed who until you realize, did they even kill somebody? So I don't know if that makes any sense at all. I might be getting a little ahead of myself, but I think this is definitely a strong Hitchcock release. This particular release has, some pretty good special features on it, so seek it out if you're a big fan of Hitchcock. I've just been filling in the holes in my Hitchcock collection. Here's another one from the 30s. I don't know what year in the 30s, but we have the 30s version of The Man Who Knew Too Much. This one is more comparable, I would say, to the 39th Step. It's definitely, you can definitely tell, just by the film quality and the production value, that it's an older, more classic, or less classic, more proto-Hitchcock. It's just so early in his career. I feel like he hasn't quite fully developed the style that he's renowned for quite yet. It's definitely a little less put together, I would say, than his later films, but I like it. I haven't seen the remake that he did in the 50s yet, but I'm definitely looking to pick that up and check it out as well. This one is also from the 50s, and it's also Hitchcock, 1950, maybe 49. I'm not really sure. I believe it's 1950. Alfred Hitchcock's Stage Fright. Not really a predecessor to the Stage Fright flicks as we know them, you know, in the 80s and more recently with the remake of that flick, the Michael Suave films that I'm referring to. This one is quite a bit more just straight up Hitchcock, noir, mystery whodunit. It's definitely on the longer side for a Hitchcock film, but I don't think that detracts from it. I really enjoyed this one too. You know, I find it really, really hard to believe that they were able to write such compelling stories for so many flicks for Hitchcock. You know, I didn't really get it until I was able to just sit down and really, really pay attention, you know, to all the little tiny, minute things that are in these films, and I've just really grown to love Hitchcock because of that. Alright, moving along to the 30s, back to the 30s rather, we have the original King Kong from 1933. This movie surprised me with its graphic violence and death. There is so much untethered violence going on in this film, and it's a very sad film, I feel. Very underrated film even still. I think that this is really just truly a masterpiece of cinema, especially considering the period that it comes from. It's just, there's so much going for it, and it's inspired so many remakes and so many spin-offs and rip-offs, and you just can't go wrong with the classic. As far as 30s flicks are concerned, this is absolutely mandatory. You gotta check it out if you haven't. Hailing from the 50s, we have another Sinister Cinema release. This one is not really horror or mystery at all. It's more of like an adventure, spy adventure, espionage weirdness movie. Hellship Mutiny. I compare this fondly to like Creature from the Haunted Sea in that it's pretty just out there. There's a lot of characters that don't really make sense. Everything seems to be like a really bad caricature of, you know, certain like Pacific Islander cultures and stuff. So tread lightly if you're not really with that. But, you know, it's still a solid 50s adventure flick, and I had fun with it. Alright, we got some propaganda here, guys. Hailing from the 30s as well, I believe from 1933, but I could be wrong. We have Reefer Madness. And this film is just really out there as well. You guys have probably seen that I've worn the shirt. I've been a big fan of this movie for a long time, even though this is the very first copy I've ever... You know what? No, this actually isn't the very first copy. I actually have another copy back here that I've only had for so long, too. But I saw this for like probably $1 at a thrift store, and I was like, you know what? There's actually special features on this one. My other one doesn't have any, so I'm going to check that out. Always cool to, you know, give this one a rewatch. Really funny film, you know. Definitely check that out if you haven't. Alright, we got a double feature from the 40s here. We have Among the Living and The Vampire's Ghost. Among the Living, I wanted to like it a bit more, and it is decent, it's decent, but I think that it's kind of just a really watered down psychodrama, and I like those usually, but this one just doesn't have what I was looking for. I'm going to give it, you know, another chance, but definitely on the weaker side for this update. The Vampire's Ghost is a really like untraditional vampire movie as well. Like, it takes place in Africa, I believe, for the most part, and just lots of unconventional elements, like not really like a traditional vampire flick at all. But sorry, it was trying to play something else. I'm not gonna make you guys go through that. Yeah, like, this is something that I was really interested in when I found it. And like I said, I'm definitely going to give it, you know, a few more tries. But two of the more blander films in this update for sure. Alright. And I actually have both of these as well, but I found this particular DVD edition of it from Diamond Entertainment. This is a DVD from 2000. One of the very earliest DVDs in my collection is a double feature with, like, The Last Man on Earth and House on Haunted Hill, and it's from the same line of DVDs from 2000. And this one is the giant Gila monster with the killer Shrews. I have both of these films as well, but it's always good to, you know, check them out. And there actually is some other special features on this double feature that are not on my singular editions. So definitely going to dive into that at some point as well. And you know, you just can't go wrong with classic 50s fare. The Giant Gila Monster is one of my favorite 50s flicks of all time. I think it's timeless. I think it's cheesy and wonderful, and it's just so well put together for what it is. And the Killer Shrews, you know, I like that one too. It's not necessarily even in the same league as far as I'm concerned, but still enjoyable. And really cool to find such a classic DVD release for so cheap. So, yeah, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Hoping to be maybe just a teensy bit more active in December. I was supposed to give you guys this update at the end of December. Or at the end of October. I wanted to do 3 updates, but it just got too busy. Been working too much with my bands and just in general, and trying to spend time with the wife and whatnot. You guys know how it is. But I'm going to definitely try and get at least 2 more updates in for the month of December. We'll try. Hey, don't at me if it ends up only being 1, but there definitely will at least be 1, and hopefully some other stuff. You know, I'm trying to keep it interesting, you know, do other stuff on the channel besides just talk about the collection strictly, like editions wise. Like we could definitely be talking about, you know, particular franchises and stuff. And if there is, you know, any particular thing you guys want me to talk about on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comments. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Go watch some horror films, guys, and I will see you. Have a good one. Everyone be safe.